All right, how you guys doing? It's me, San Martin, over here at the Prescott E-News office, doing the podcast of all podcasts. We have 4 online, and if you need to know anything more about Prescott, Arizona, let's go ahead and get on the newsletter and follow Prescott E-News. Today we were at Prescott Talks, and the master and the host.
Hey, my name's Glenn.
Glenn Martin.
Yes, sir.
Dude, you got a good last name.
Yeah, there you go. At least a part of it, right? All right, thank you, San Martin. Today we have Jason Gisi with the AED. He's the CEO of AED. On the computer, we have Lynn Master, our editor-in-chief. So anytime that you may have a question for Jason or want to join into the conversation, in that little comment box, just go ahead and write your comments down, and we'll ask Jason the question, and we'll answer it to the very best of our ability. Oh, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for taking your time to come over and speak to us.
My pleasure.
A lot of things going on with the Dells, and hopefully we can maybe do a little bit of education today, as well as kind of really move out some of the myths that are out there. But the first thing I want to do, Jason, is just kind of talk about you, where you've been, what you've done in your past, and we want to get to know you a little bit.
So I moved to Prescott in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little kid up in Flagstaff. I graduated from U of A, was working in Phoenix in real estate development, and had an opportunity to come to Prescott. Took it up, and Prescott's been wonderful for myself, my family. I have 4 kids.
Great.
My oldest is a 17-year-old junior at Prescott High, and my youngest is an 11-year-old 5th grader at Abijah. Oh, I got in trouble there. Granite Mountain. Whoops. I screwed that up. So everybody's in Public Unified School District. Things are going well, and my family's happy.
Great.
Love it.
Excellent. So we're talking about the land, obviously, about what you. Now you're the CEO of AED, which stands for
Arizona Eco Development. So Arizona Eco Development was founded approximately 2012, and that was we originally purchased a note on the former Wilkinson Ranch. The Wilkinsons owned the ranch going back at least into the 60s, probably earlier than that. And we purchased a note. We're not able to make a deal with the debtor. In this case, we went to foreclose on the note, and the debtor decided to go to bankruptcy court.
Gotcha.
So we waited through bankruptcy court. That took almost 2 years. And eventually were awarded title from U.S. bankruptcy court.
Gotcha.
to approximately 15,000 acres. So we have a 15,000 acre ranch that we own free and clear. Our first development on the ranch is called Jasper. It's in Prescott Valley. We annexed that property into Prescott Valley in 2014, I believe. And our first phase will be completed probably in May. It depends on our El Nino winter that we now have in full effect.
Yeah.
Things have been a little slow lately.
We call it El Nino weather.
Yes. And so we're heading likely to a grand opening around the 4th of July.
Gotcha. So on this bankruptcy court, the way I understand it, Jason, and we spoke a little bit about this before we went on the air, that was an open bid process where anybody could have bid to obtain this land, and you won the bid. And that's the way I understand it.
So things get technical. We, in essence, were the bank, and we were foreclosing on a loan that was not performing, meaning the creditor was not paying their bill.
Okay.
When we go to bankruptcy court, there's a plan that gets confirmed. There's competition sometimes for a plan, but the whole principle, the simple principle, is that you're in bankruptcy court. We were competing for title to all or part of the ranch. Frankly, the former owner was as well. And if another group would have entered a bid at that time, the bankruptcy court proceeding is a public proceeding. That's what it's designed to do. And the principle at play for the folks that are owed money is that the court is trying to secure as much money for the asset as possible.
Gotcha.
So if let's say a competitor would have been at the table, that would have created in essence an auction. There would have been multiple bids. And the court's job is to sell the asset at the highest bid so that the most money goes back to the folks that are owed money.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, I mean, you know, being born and raised in Prescott, Arizona, you said it earlier, I bet you drove through this little area. Let's talk about a little bit of this land. There's a misconception, I feel, that a new I don't know if it's an organization or what, but a petition has been set from the Save the Dells group organization. Can we like distinguish this location? Because I personally am lost. I'm like, I see a picture of the lake and I'm like, are you giving away the lake? Or I mean, because these are the things that I'm noticing. But I don't get in the middle of it because I don't know the logistics. And this is one of the reasons why you're here. So can you kind of like establish, you know, some of this?
The easiest marker, the easiest physical marker that everybody should know is the Point of Rocks. So the Point of Rocks is the heart of the Granite Dells. The Point of Rocks is owned by our company. That is private land today. It's been private land for many, many years.
Now that's right past Watson Lake, right?
It would be to the north of Watson Lake, between present day 89A and Watson Lake.
Yeah.
So your confusion, San Martin, seems to center around the lake itself. We don't own any land that fronts on the lake. The lake is owned by the city of Prescott presently. There is land around the lake that is owned by the city of Prescott. And as we sit here today, there's still land around Watson Lake that is owned by the Storm Ranch, which would be our neighbor to the south.
Okay. And I mean, in most cases, there's already residents there. There's already people living in that area. And if you actually drive back there, I mean, they're not too good, like the nice homes and stuff. It's kind of, it kind of looks like a campsite in sense. I mean, I'm not trying to make that it's a bad deal, but is this a part of your land too? I mean,
no. So I believe that there's multiple developments in the area. The development I think that you're referring to is called Granite Gardens. Granite Gardens was developed in the county. I don't know the exact date. I'm going to guess it's sometime in the 70s. And when Granite Gardens was developed, actually, the sewer solution was a septic tank. Unfortunately, when you have a septic tank in granite rock, it doesn't perk. So as time went on, the state required the city of Prescott to provide sewer to Granite Gardens. And so that was done. And in fact, this past summer, the county actually paved the roads because the roads were dirt roads. And the quality of the development probably, in my opinion and based on my experience, goes back to the fact that there aren't architectural design guidelines. It was a different time, admittedly, in the past. But if you don't create rules and you don't have, whether it's architectural design guidelines or land development codes like the municipalities have, you get development that is kind of a mismatch of stuff.
yeah, and it shows. It really does show. I mean, I've been back there.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that are building houses that are kind of like crazy. Some guy has a house back there with a bunch of tires and glass, which is recyclable, but I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
In a sense, it's kind of cool. He's refurbishing walls with tires and in bottles. It's kind of crazy.
It's definitely it's a free form type of development. I believe there's one house that actually incorporates a houseboat as part of their house.
I need to take a tour for this.
There you go.
That'd be a good place to go. So, are you going to be knocking down mountains over there? I mean, let's get to the point. Are we going to literally drive through the dells, and are the mountains going to be gone? I mean, is this what's happening?
So, where we're headed, shortly we will make a revision to our original application to the city of Prescott. That revision is based on conversations and negotiations and listening to the public. We opened this process by going to the city council and making a presentation on where we were headed and what we were proposing. We followed up with two public meetings that are not required by any Prescott code, where we listened to the public. And the second meeting that was at Mile High Middle School, I guess the ballpark estimate was approximately 500 people attended. And I took questions, and we were doing that on purpose. what we were looking for is, what are the hot buttons, right? We know that the Point of Rocks is a hot button. We would never propose to drill and shoot and blow up the Point of Rocks. So that view shed is hugely valuable to us, and frankly, it's part of the community conversation and why it's been so emotional. But it's not in our best interest to do anything but make things as pristine and natural as possible, and that would be what we're looking to do. Second reason that we had the public meetings is we might come across an idea that we hadn't thought of, or maybe we didn't think was actionable. And I'm going to give an exact example. Former Councilwoman Jean Wilcox at the second meeting at Mile High Middle School said, "Jason, would AED consider density transfer?" And so so that the viewers at home can understand, what that would mean is to take housing, a subdivision, move it away from the Point of Rocks to create a open space and a natural environment to preserve that environment. My comment was absolutely we would consider that. And there have been extensive talks with the city of Prescott up until this point to try to narrow down. This is a very large application for a small town. We understand that. To narrow down the conversation in prep for the public process ahead. And so what you'll see when we submit our new mapping is that there's a substantial amount of open space that is being proposed for dedication to the city of Prescott, so that Prescott owns it forever. That not only benefits Prescott, but it benefits anybody who comes to our area. Tourism is important around here, generates a lot of revenue, and our trail system is something that is just frankly a gem. It's a jewel. We want to accentuate and maximize that opportunity, and part of doing that is having public access, which occurs today, but could be enhanced into the future. And as we move through the process, what we'll find, I believe, is that there will be a compromise in my mind that will hopefully allow Prescott to have a substantial amount of open space forever, and that will move our density away from the sensitive land. So that was a great idea that came from the public. We didn't propose that.
You kind of hit on a point there. So there's another map coming, is what you're saying, Jason?
I am, yeah. So Glenn, what we're doing, I'm just thinking about, like, I could give you a real technical answer to it, and so the simple answer is this. We made a submittal. All those documents are sitting presently on the City of Prescott's website, so the public has access to them. We have gone through a series of discussions. Certainly in the public forum, folks have said, well, they're making a deal in the back room.
Right.
It's not transparent. Well, unfortunately, I can't make a deal with 39,000 people. It's not possible. Yeah. And so what those discussions and preliminary negotiations are designed to do is narrow the scope and prep the application, or the revised application, which is not really, it's amended, for the public.
Right.
I think what the public will see is that there's been huge progress made here. Our maps will not look like they used to look. Many folks will be happy. Frankly, some folks will never be happy.
Yeah.
They don't want to.
It's always going to be the no.
No, that never happens.
No development, no.
I can smile all day and there would be somebody mad at me for that.
You're going to get it.
The next piece of this then, as we re-enter, we will re-enter at planning and zoning. We are subject to Prop 400 because of the size of our annexation. Prop 400 has a different set of rules than Prescott's Land Development Code. It has an enhanced set of rules, higher requirements, more detail. Frankly, it costs a lot more money. And it takes more time as a result. So we will come back into Prescott planning and zoning. I'm going to tell you in the month of April, I'm guessing by the middle of April, mid to end of April, we start working through the technical side of the application, which would then be, I'm gonna say the second half of negotiations.
Gotcha.
And the goal would be to get to a vote, hopefully by the end of this year. I don't see why not. It should be sooner than that, frankly, but I also understand these things take time. Whereby we'll find out if Prescott, if this is a good deal for Prescott, if Prescott would like us annexed, because another central point is we're asking to be annexed in Prescott. There's no mandate here. There's no right on our part. And so that's part of the decision-making process as we decide, what we're willing to let go of, and what we pick up in the form of value in order to balance out the deal.
Gotcha.
It's not a mathematical equation where it's more of a field type sport. You go, well, this seems fair.
Right.
And I think that it's also fair to say that neither party will get everything they want, which is frankly the sign of a good, healthy negotiation.
The heart of the deal, if you will.
Yeah. So how the home deal is, how many homes is there planned to being built, and are you gonna make it so it's an acre parcel, or are you gonna subdivide it to where it's a bunch of cookie cutter homes?
So it's a blend, because there's actually two annexation parcels. So I'm gonna start north and I'm gonna head south for you. So north of Highway 89A towards the airport, coming out of the Granite Dells Parkway traffic interchange, we have a proposal for 1,500 and I believe 56 units. We are asking for manufactured housing zoning. The reason we're doing that is not because you say manufactured housing, people see a Cavco single wide with, some shade structure.
Right.
The
tire.
I have a song in my head right now.
So what's happening in the marketplace is it's expensive and inefficient to build a house on site. And actually a ton of money is getting poured into this market space by Silicon Valley entrepreneurs who, for instance, the guy who founded GoPro is involved heavily with a manufacturing facility called Katera down in Phoenix, which is 250,000 square feet, a giant warehouse, where they build the walls and they can take it all the way through to drywall, and then they ship them to the job site so that the buildings are erected on site. In fact, when I last visited Katera, they were shipping walls all the way to Seattle. So presently, in order to be able to use prefabricated or manufactured types of construction, we need the zoning that we're asking for. It's not because we're looking to build a trailer park.
Yeah, but for 1,500 homes, developing for specifically that, it seems like the housing is going to be a little bit either A, affordable, or B, kind of like, what is the cost and how big are the lots?
So that's exactly why we're looking north of the highway, of Highway 89A. We're looking to drive down the total cost of the land and the home. There's a clear opportunity in our marketplace, and in fact, it's a need I always stay away from affordable housing. There's legal terms of art, especially federally, when we start talking about this. But there is some price point in Prescott that would be much cheaper than what we see routinely. And so what we're focused at is an entry-level subdivision to drive prices as low as we can, and be able to sell to that's a wider, deeper pool of people. So from a business strategy, we're looking to create affordability, and we have alignment with Prescott because Prescott needs affordability.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on there. As we then transition to the south, the Dells subdivision is underway and under construction. Phase 2 is just completed. New houses are coming up. To the west towards Granite Creek, that part of our ranch has been historically farmed since like 1880s. So it's flat, it's level, it's very efficient for a higher density lot. So when you say cookie cutter houses, what I hear is tract homes.
Yeah.
Okay, so the tract homes would be that density would be clustered, higher density in the area that is, I'm gonna say most suitable for development. It's flat, there's no rock, it's really good land for that. As we head south towards the Point of Rocks, the size of the lot will stretch out, and the cost of the lot will go up. And those would be custom homes that would be built. Glenn would hire a local custom home contractor to construct his house on a lot like that.
And how many, and in total, how many units in general? I mean, the whole acreage that you're talking about right now.
And that's in phases too, right, Jason?
Oh, yeah.
So you have a total, but.
Next week.
Yeah, but it's not like, in a year, we're gonna have X, right?
Now, my best guess is that the projects that we're talking about, assuming a decent economy, no great recessions again, it optimistically, it's a 15-year project. The reality of it is probably 20.
And during this project, I mean, obviously water is a big deal in Arizona in
Yes.
general. I mean,
Sure.
I'm not underground and I don't actually see all that stuff that's down there. Just make sure that we have enough water. In the state of maybe emergency, that we don't have no water, will this phase slow down just so that we can go ahead and compensate with that, so that we make sure that us as citizens of this nice little area are able to live without having to say, hey man, we just ruined our water
I
system.
think they call it moratorium, right?
Yeah, it would be called a moratorium. And so we get into, this gets really technical, and so I'm trying to think about how to answer simply.
Yeah.
The city of Prescott, last week or the week before, came out with a reconciliation of their water portfolio.
Yeah.
That water portfolio it's called a decision in order. It's the result of, instead of going to court, the city of Prescott, Salt River Project, and the Yavapai tribe sat down and negotiated who owns what as far as their water rights go. Prescott's, the round number, I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, is about 15,000 acre feet. Prescott meaning Prescott can use up to 15,000 acre feet of water on an annual basis, and the state, meaning Arizona Department of Water Resources, is saying that's 100-year supply. So for 100 years, we mathematically, and I'm not a hydrologist, we have water for 15,000 acre feet per year, not people or houses. That's acre feet. Presently, my recall is last year we used about 6,700 acre feet in Prescott. What we've been seeing is that as Prescott's population has been growing gently, we see all kinds of misinformation out there about growth rates at 7 or 8%. I think the highest I've ever seen since I've lived here is like 3.2%. We're growing at 1.8 to 2% a year, so let's call it 2% a year. As we've grown based on technology, we're actually using the same amount of water that we were using previously. The other thing, and there's credit that CWAG deserves here, Citizens Water Advisory Group. We, as a community, do a much better job of saving water. Easy example is lawns. Folks are focused and are on xeriscape, whereby boulders, drought-resistant shrubs and trees, stuff that doesn't need to be watered every day, is being utilized across our county, really. And so as we become educated about water, because water is valuable, meaning in my mind every last drop of it, based on technology and just evolution and the culture of our area, which is multiple municipalities, we use water very wisely. In fact, outside of Tucson, Arizona, we probably use water the best, meaning we use the least on an annual basis. And that's been an effort from multiple groups. CWAG has certainly led the charge there, and the results are tangible, meaning from an analytical perspective, the city of Prescott has water meters on all these houses. They know exactly how much water is being used per household on an annual basis. And so those houses, the use has gone down even as our population has gently increased. And so, your question is kind of a real big question.
I know.
Big picture, San Martin.
Water makes us live, unfortunately.
Yeah. And so then the last piece of that would be, why did the city of Prescott buy the water ranch? I don't recall the date, but the Big Chino Water Ranch. Well, it's a carve out in state law. We meaning the city of Prescott had a share on the Central Arizona project. It's very expensive to pump water uphill from the Colorado River here. So in the 90s, the city of Prescott sold our water allocation on the Colorado River to the city of Scottsdale. And my recall is that was approximately $13 million. One thing that was really, really smart is the council at the time, our leadership at the time, the staff, there was a carve out in state law that allows us as an active management area, and I told you this gets real technical, to be able to import water from outside the AMA into the city of Prescott. So the backstop, if you will, is a very large aquifer in the Big Chino, which is towards Seligman, north of Paulden. And you know, you can read lots of different statistics on the Big Chino. I'll go ahead and say that it seems to me that the various groups that would argue over the total amount of acre feet in the Big Chino, they seem to find common ground in the 10 to 12 million acre feet range.
That's huge. That's really huge.
It's a lot of water.
There was actually a good question that's brought up right now. With the 1,500 homes that are going out there to the north of 89A, would you put in a reprocess system where basically that water could be utilized as irrigation if there is such a thing? I mean, is this something that you will be willing, or are you going to be implementing for this development?
So we have the benefit in that location, if we're annexed to Prescott, of a state-of-the-art sewer treatment plant that sits on Granite Creek, generally at the end of the runway, which would be directly west across Granite Creek from the location of the property. So as it relates to, my answer would be the city's already created state-of-the-art infrastructure that we would be linked into. So we don't need to do that on the private side because we link into a public system that is already top of the line. The next piece of this thing, which is interesting to me, but it you know, things evolve over time. You start to look at rainwater harvesting, okay? And so how you collect water and store it is an opportunity, but it can also create some problems. You know, if we have standing water and someone comes in and they say, oh my God, West Nile virus is here and now we're all gonna die.
Yeah. Little mosquitoes, man.
Stagnant water doesn't work.
They're aliens, man. Those mosquitoes are aliens.
So we're looking at various construction types where basically water is captured, stored, and used instead of just allowed to either sink into the land or frankly run across the ground. And then you get into, you know, SRP again. Granite Creek ties into the headwaters of the Verde River. And I know that there's been conversations in the past where SRP, I think, says, you know, to a certain extent we're okay with it, but if you go too crazy with it, you're cutting off our surface water right. And so how that plays out, I don't know, but we're looking heavily at energy in Jasper. Every house will be outfitted with a battery. When we look at power, we see a huge opportunity. You know, up at Page, we have a coal burning power plant. Okay, if we can take down power, meaning we can buy it during the cheap time, which would basically be after 10 p.m. and before everybody wakes up and gets going in the morning, store that power, use it during the high use, high consumption, and high cost periods. When you look at Jasper at build out could take out or eliminate the need for a coal burning unit at the Navajo generating station. So we get into really super efficient houses, but we've been focused on the vertical opportunities, meaning in the house, to create more sustainability, which also creates a cheaper cost to operate your house. And so whether you're running your AC or running your heat, or you know you have a family of 6 like I do, and your wife is always doing laundry.
Yeah. Yeah.
The opportunity that has been most obvious and not easy to get to, but actionable, has been to look at energy. Next piece of this, as we move forward in our sustainability efforts, we'll be looking at the water even further. We start off with deed restrictions that say you can't have a lawn in your front yard, and we're going to tell you how much lawn you can have in your backyard, because 98% of the water that leaves the system, so to speak, is used outside for landscaping.
Irrigation.
Yeah, about 93% of the water that's used internally in a house is gathered in the sewer system. There's certainly loss along the way, but that's the water that gets cleaned and recharged back into the aquifer. And so technology has really helped us. We're great inside the house. We'll probably even get better. The next question is outside the home. How can we use water even more wisely and stretch it further?
Yeah, I mean, in most cases, we're really honestly, population is growing. People are, having babies, and resources are being used. So, the best things that you could possibly do is have a home that is efficient. I mean, because who likes to pay APS? I mean, come on.
Okay.
I mean, if you could go ahead and utilize, solar energy and stuff like that, I think that is kind of the way to go. And I like kind of being it.
Right.
What we have is an opportunity to mandate certain things. We tell our builders, if you're going to buy lots from us in our subdivision, these are the rules. That's a great opportunity. It's a big responsibility. But we are excited by those opportunities because we believe that the market is ready for that. You said it. There are folks that will want renewables used because it makes them feel good.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me feel good.
Think globally, act locally, right?
Yeah.
There are other folks that say, the legacy cost of my house, I don't know how long I'm going to live for. I want to pay the least amount possible to run my TV, my washing machine, and everything else. And so the market is intersecting there when we get into renewables. And an interesting piece today is a great example. In the winter, California pays APS to take renewable power off their grid because of the way their laws are set. Right now, we don't have enough use. In the summer we would when everybody's running their AC. Right now, we don't have enough use of that power, and power gets grounded out. So the solar piece of this thing is super interesting to me because we have plenty of renewable energy in the grid presently. That's what the batteries are about. It's about storing that power because that's cheap, clean power, and using it during peak times. And our subdivisions and the rules that we're setting up around them are going to require people to do the right thing.
Yeah, and that's smart. Not to get too controversial, but
Sure.
guess what? It's time to get controversial.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have an organization, I guess they are now established an organization called Save the Dells. Pound Save the Dells, hashtag Save the Dells. Do you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about, I don't think it's a misconception, but a concern of theirs. The message that they're trying to put out there is that you're blowing, I mean, don't get me wrong, haven't really read too much of it, but you're going to be blowing out trails, you're going to be blowing out mountains, you're going to be blowing out our lake there. Can we go ahead and hashtag something right now?
Let's get rid of that misconsumer. And are we going to have trails? Are we going to have outdoor parks where we can still walk the Feeding Valley trails? And
So here's a couple ones from online. It says, will you protect the Peavine and the Iron King trails for public use? Will you build new trails? Do you plan to destroy the land? And so let's get a little controversial because Save the Dells has put a huge thing. I mean, they're posting endlessly. And another good question is, did you perform the tagging on the walls? And it's a yes or no question. You can go ahead. Okay. All right, guys. So go ahead and handle that.
Yeah.
It was not Jason. It was, and Save the Dells hasn't actually responded to if they did that or not. But anyway, let's go to the controversial Save the Dells. It's an organization now. Let's tap in on that. What are some of the things that you would like to go ahead and have everybody that's backing up Save the Dells, or let me go hashtag Save the Dells. Let's iron out some stuff. It's your turn. Go.
Okay.
Because I'm trying to stay out of the middle of this because I'm not political. Remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with the Peavine and the Iron King. So the Peavine Trail is owned by the city of Prescott presently.
Okay.
We don't own the land.
Okay.
So the public access that is enjoyed presently, it can't change. It's impossible for it to change. Okay. Same thing is true of the Iron King Trail, which is owned by the town of Prescott Valley, and at the Point of Rocks, which happens to be on our land, the intersection of the two trails occurs. I think it's safe to say that, you know, if the Point of Rocks and that intersection was on somebody else's land, my life would be a lot easier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the absolutely, positively, the trails as they exist today stay as they are. The opportunity is to enhance those trails with new trails. The question that you asked was, do we intend to build new trails? It's two different answers. There will be public trails that come through private land, on our land as we envision it, that would be constructed by the city of Prescott, which is really constructed by the Over the Hill Gang, a group of volunteers that does great work on behalf of all this. I'm a trail user. All of us benefit from the.
Sounds like something I should be involved with. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, as soon as I get past, actually I thought 40 was over the hill, right? Does it start at 40?
Well,
Is it over the hill start at 40?
I'm sure that if you have a strong back and a will to work, that the Over the Hill Gang will anoint you.
Okay.
One of their members.
So I don't want to be the member if I do not want to work.
They volunteer their time. They do wonderful work, and not only citizens of Prescott, but anybody who comes to visit us benefits from the efforts of the Over the Hill Gang. So there'll be connectivity via new trails to existing public trails. There will be public trails on that would come across our private land. The question, in my mind, or the answer, excuse me, we'll have private trails. So we'll have private trails that intersect with the public trails that link up to more public trails.
Are you butting up houses to these existing trails?
Sure. So the reality on the ground is that I've read stuff where folks are concerned they're going to be able to see a house from the trail.
Mm-hmm.
Today you can see a house from the trail.
Yeah.
Okay? Tomorrow you're going to see more houses from the trail, whether we're annexed into Prescott or not. The Storm Ranch will be developed. There will be houses and rooftops, multiple, in full view of Watson Lake and the Peavine Trail in that location.
And that has nothing to do with you.
Nothing to do with
Yeah.
it.
So the storm ranch, is that what you're?
The Storm Ranch, the portion that it was approved, will be developed. What I'm hearing is that'll break ground sometime this summer, early fall.
Oh wow.
Has nothing to do with us. Yavapai Hills, there will be more houses that extend out over the top of Watson Lake. That deal was, that development agreement dates back to 1974.
Wow, that's huge. And there actually is one on the Watson Lake. It has a blue roof, white. I mean, it's like it sticks out like a sore thumb. Like you guys look like you're supposed to be on the waters of like Peru or something. If there's any waters of Peru, I need to get my Geographic to go up there.
That house gives some bearing because the houses on the Storm Ranch will be in and around that area. Okay.
Oh, wow.
There are houses that are visible in Granite Gardens. There are houses that are visible at Walden Farms. There are houses that are visible at the Dells. The question that I hear you answering is, will we be willing to buffer those trails? The question is yes, or excuse me, the answer is yes. The question is to what extent, and the problem is, or the challenge to be resolved, is that due to topography, it's not a single piece of flat land where one size fits all, where you can say, okay, if we buffer the trail, well, we're good in this location. It's very specific to the part of the project. By way of example, in very sensitive land that actually would be buffering the Iron King Trail, there are giant pine trees. There are wonderful stands of oak trees. It's not in our best interest or our plan to tear that stuff out. What's in our best interest is to use that buffer of that very mature, wonderful landscape and keep it as it is. So that might be an area where we decide we want a bigger buffer, okay? In other areas of the project, it may not be necessary. So what happens is people generally default and they want to get to a simple answer to a complicated question.
Yeah.
And in this case, that would do the land an injustice. We would end up with an inferior product someday for the public and for us.
Right. One fit does not fit all.
No.
Is what you're trying to say.
No.
You know, I agree.
You know, how long have you been in Prescott area? I mean, I know you've been
1996.
Yeah, and so the ranch itself has been a part of Prescott for how long?
The ranch has never actually been a part of Prescott. It's always been in Yavapai County.
Okay.
But the ranch, the Wilkinson family probably started assembling in, it could have been the 20s for all I know, but for a long time.
Was
So-
that agriculture at one time? Or-
Yes, so the ranch, there was farming along Granite Creek,
Uh-huh.
and we have a large water right that exists in Watson Lake and we maintain today. And that dates back to the farming operation, which the earliest, off the top of my head, it was 1894 when that water right was established and recognized by the state of Arizona. And then the rest of it was used for cattle production. It was a ranch.
Gotcha.
Wow. You know, one of the things that I thought about when you said that the houses will be butt up to the trails was a story that came out on one of the news stations out in Prescott or Phoenix, and the guy obviously owns his property, and he would come out and harass the trail people. Like, I mean, is there going to be some sort of barrier so this doesn't happen? Because you know, a lot of people get territorial over their little section, and
This
you
is
know,
my world.
yeah, this is my world. Don't let your dog do any do on my wall. So, I mean, is there something that, you know, is there going to be an easement of some sort?
So what we've been working on is a couple of things. One, I had like Camelback Mountain flashing my
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
So there was never a master plan. Nobody ever thought that Camelback Mountain was going to attract the amount of tourists and hikers that it does. So you have cars parking all over a subdivision, and you have a neighborhood that's pretty high stress. We've been working on more of a master plan with the city of Prescott because we know that as we preserve more land, we will create a larger public attraction. That's not just the city of Prescott. That's somebody who's coming from Des Moines, Iowa.
Mhm.
It's public land. That's where it's headed. And so we have a very unique opportunity to be able to provide a large parking lot. And we have an area of the ranch that has running water year-round on Granite Creek. And so it wasn't our idea. In fact, this idea came from Michael Lamar, the city manager. He said, Jason, I'd like to see a public park. Not talking about preserved open space, a public park where you can go, you know, throw a football, kick a soccer ball, have a picnic type of a thing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And so that location, which will be detailed on our maps, not what will be in the public park, but the location of the public park, is a wonderful idea because it creates direct connectivity via trail to the stuff that we're proposing for open space for City of Prescott's ownership. But the big challenge is how do you properly size it? How large should the parking lot be? Frankly, there's members of the public that don't like it at all. They want access. I've been told multiple times that there are already too many people on the publicly owned trails. And I'm going,
There's no
people
satisfaction.
well, it's either public or it's private.
Yeah.
So if it's public, it's open to all of us, including our neighbors in New York City. If it's private, obviously it's private. And so it's about striking that balance and creating a master plan that should be sufficient to handle folks that want to come and have their kid's birthday party at the park, and folks that just want to park there and ride their mountain bike to access the trail system from that location. So you'll see all of those details play out as the public process wears on. That's the high concept is let's master plan this. Let's have a park as part of it. Let's have that park in it's super cool. The cottonwoods are all healthy because of all the water. So the shade structure is built in by Mother Nature. It's wonderful.
Okay, so there was last night. Obviously, this is a huge thing that's online. It's been playing out. You know, the Save the Dells people are 100%. Being a big influence online. So having this communication, I thank you for that, and thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast.
Glad to have you.
And one of the things that the questions were out there says, do you feel like the Save the Dells has a point in the arguments, or do you feel they're being unfair?
I would definitely say, and I think I'm on record already, saying that Save the Dells has a point. We were not naive people. We understood that this was very sensitive land, and there was going to be a component of it that would need to be dedicated to the public forever, so that people could know that it's public land. We own it today, we own it tomorrow. The question becomes, how much of the land should be dedicated? And we've seen various acreages that have been put out there, but Save the Dells has definitely pointed at 500 acres, okay? I understand, at least I think I understand why it's 500 acres. What it looks like to me is they're looking for a buffer to the open space, okay? Which there's nothing like that I can think of in our area. To me, it doesn't boil down to the amount of acreage, it boils down to the quality of the land. By way of example, if Arizona Eco turned around and said, hey, we will dedicate 2,500 acres on the North Range to the nonprofit of the city of Prescott's choosing, and in so doing, what we're asking for is to develop the land in accordance with the Prescott Land Development Code, which would require 25% open space. Would you do the deal?
Yeah, I mean, well, I want to counteract this. I mean, would you do a deal with the city of Prescott and oblige them with, land? Because, I mean, you said you had 150,000 acres already.
15,000.
Oh, sorry.
You're all right.
We got pretty cool.
You already quadrupled it.
Yeah, I did. I was like, how much you have by the time the day is ended, you're going to have 250 million acres owned. But I'm going to counter offer that. I mean, would you be willing to go ahead and donate acreage in order for people to be kind of like at ease, like saying, all right, man, you're an awesome guy. You're working with the city. You're doing the things. And don't get me wrong, donating 500 acres is a pretty big deal. And I mean, I don't even know what the cost of 500 acres is on your bet. But I mean,
And you're not on the spot, Jason.
No.
Very comfortable.
You can go ahead and you can pressure this on somebody else's level, but I mean, the counteracting conversation would be that. I mean, can we counter?
We
do
believe
that.
we believe that we, with our revised mapping, we will make a very legitimate, strong, and sincere offer for in our mind, very large piece of land to be dedicated public open space.
And you didn't bring that map today, so we could go ahead.
I could not bring that map because it hasn't been released to the city of Prescott yet.
The Prescott E-News heard it first.
There you go.
Beyond that, into the future, I think that it's safe to say that we will donate land into the future. I couldn't tell you when or where yet, but 15,000 acres is a very large landmass. The thing I don't want to lose sight of, though, the 866 acres that is the southern annexation where we're going to make our offer is by far the most valuable piece of land of all the 15,000 acres. And so I think that I know that there will be many folks who are concerned about what we're doing that will see our offer and go, that's a real offer.
Mm-hmm.
I also know that there's going to be other folks, citizens in our community, that will say, well, that's just not good enough.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's normal.
But-
In a big sense.
But in the private world, we always say when we're going to go out and buy a house, location.
Yes.
And then you're talking about a quality piece of land, a prime piece of land. So it's not 500 acres. So it's 400 or 300 or whatever it is. If it's a quality piece of land, it's going to enhance the property area. It's not going to impede on any of the trails or what people see as they bike or walk in that area. You got to consider it. It just again, you know, nobody's going to be happy. Everybody's going to have. There's going to be always the people that say no, no matter what. And there's going to be people that say no. You know, it was 400 acres. We still want 500 acres. But somewhere in the middle of it, we all have to compromise because this guy owns the property. So
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the deal is so Jason's in. I'm thinking with Mike Lamar and zoning negotiating, and it falls apart. Then it becomes property of Yavapai County, which I don't think anybody wants to do. I don't think AE wants to be part of the county, nor does Save the Dells. And then there's another option. How about Prescott Valley? I mean, if that all fell apart, can your property be actually annexed into Prescott Valley? Is that an option out there? If it all fell apart, I'm thinking worst case scenario. I know my wife says you're very negative, but you know, I always think worst case scenario, where am I going to fall back on if this thing falls apart?
So the answer is that there are options. AED made a decision to request annexation into the city of Prescott.
Yeah,
Okay.
which is the prime one.
All right. So from there, is there a county solution? Absolutely. There's multiple county solutions. Is there a town PV solution? I believe the answer is yes. I know that some folks don't see that. I see that opportunity clearly, and so what it boils down to is we show up, negotiate, hopefully a deal that is acceptable to the majority of people out there, and things move on. Having said that, you know, there have been times in Prescott's history. The first time Walmart came to Prescott didn't want Walmart. Well, we got Walmart next door on the reservation. The private sector is very good at finding solutions.
Yeah.
And so we'll see. At this point where we sit and where our head is at and what we're focused on is getting our application revised and into planning and zoning so that we can start to work through the Prop 400 process in the city of Prescott. If we find that we can't accomplish our goal, we'll have to reevaluate and make decisions from there.
That's pretty huge. So I'm going to go back a little bit when you were talking about Storm Ranch and then the development that they're doing. Is it me or do nobody talk about that? I mean, because everybody's talking about you in general and the Storm. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to throw Storm Ranch underneath the bus, but I didn't hear nothing about Storm Ranch. And everybody's like, oh, you, and then all of a sudden Storm Ranch is getting ready to drop how many homes? I mean, and what is?
I think the Storm is about 300 lots, the piece that will be developed, and so that the
And Yavapai Hills. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt that, but Yavapai Hills is a part of this too. So
and so the it's a good point, okay, and that kind of goes back to my comments about having the point of rocks actually on the land. You know, maybe someday I'll be real happy about that.
Yeah.
Today it causes me a lot of problems in my life. And so people, I don't know, in my career, things ebb and flow. Sometimes you catch one that's real hot and folks are very, very concerned. And other times when you expect the public to be concerned, they're not for whatever reason. And so I couldn't necessarily explain it to you.
yeah, I think it's a sense of urgency when they put on their Save the Dells. You know, and it's like Save the Dells, or what are you saving? You know, I mean, because ultimately that's a sense of urgency word, like save me, SOS. I mean, in most cases, it seems like you actually went the right way because you cared about the local scenario rather than other developers that didn't want to put it out there. I mean, it just seems kind of awkward, you know?
Being a local, I knew that we were going to have a lot of public comment. And so what the common ground, I mean, if we hover up to 30,000 feet, since day one when Save the Dells launched their website, if you look at their material, they're saying that this land should be annexed into the city of Prescott. Okay, we applied to annex into the city of Prescott,
And you didn't have to.
No, that was voluntary, And City of Prescott hasn't kicked us out and said, no, we're never going to consider you annexing into Prescott. And so the common ground, if this annexation comes together, will be right there. Is this land Prescott? Should it be in Prescott? Are the benefits that will be available for all to see, from financial to open space to trail connectivity? Because different people care about different parts of this. Is this something that works? Is this beneficial for the municipality or not? And the one thing that does give me, I guess, a sense of calm, because you get into, I don't need to talk about my personal experiences, but there's folks that have their opinions are very strong, their concerns are very real. And I'm not belittling that at all. I get it. But what I ask folks to say is, why don't we wait until, don't judge me now, right? Judge us, 6 months from now, when we see the results of the negotiations ahead, the process ahead, and you can see the whole package deal. If you think that I'm doing the wrong thing by Prescott, Arizona, at that point, I'll live with your opinion. I am confident that will not be the case.
It's awesome. I mean, it's awesome to go ahead and get the logistics of all of it. Going back to these lots and affordable housing or whatever it may be, do you have an idea of what the cost per lot is going to be? Starting with let's go with the manufactured area with 1,500 homes, all the way to the ones that are going to be more substantial as far as custom homes.
Yeah. So if I had to, the only thing I can do is kind of speculate in today's market. Market goes up, market goes down, values move all around. On the affordable side of things in today's marketplace, a City of Prescott zip code, a lot's probably, our target would be something like $65,000, $70,000 for a range. There's stuff on the south end there's $1 million lots on the south end. Okay, they don't exist today, but if we're successful, there's lots that are absolutely, positively one of a kind.
Yeah.
And so you kind of get into a range. I look at it from the perspective of a menu. We have different folks that they have different specifications, they have different price points. Some people want our lifestyle, but they don't want a large house to have to maintain. Other folks, they have families and they like large acreage and large houses. And so on the affordable side of things today, if we had that product type, about 65, 70 would be my guess. The market of tomorrow, the reality of it is, let's assume that we're approved for annexation to the City of Prescott in 2019. There's an easy 2 years of engineering that needs to occur before we even stick a shovel in the ground and get things moving. Jasper is going to take us, thanks to El Nino, which is a good thing overall. Jasper will be a 16, 17 month build, to build the first phase, not the subdivision.
Oh, wow.
So we get into timelines that are measured in years, not months or weeks.
Yeah, like
So it's
tomorrow
hard.
you blink the eye and all of a sudden there's 1,500 homes.
Yeah.
No.
That doesn't happen.
Mr. Cook, Chris came up with a good question. The question is, if we really wanted to go ahead and buy this property off you, how much would it be?
A lot.
All right, that sounds good.
That's the honest answer. I don't have. There would be no asking price on something like this because it's not. You can't replace it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think that I'm stretching it to say that we own the best piece of land in northern Arizona, and so my response would be, make me an offer. We've never seen an offer. We've met with Arizona Game and Fish. We thought that there was the possibility of using heritage funds, which is proceeds off of the lottery, to create areas that would be preserved where we would sell land at a profit, by the way, to organizations that would hold it for the public trust. We have Nature Conservancy. We met with the director 4 years ago. We were told that they were more interested in buying land in Africa and the state of Colorado. We're very, very good at doing our homework, And I feel very confident, unless somebody just comes out of the sky, that there is no buyer. There's never been anyone interested. There's never been one offer. Would that be a much easier road than the road I'm on? You bet.
Sleep better at night. Yeah,
He's
sure,
like, I mean, in all reality.
Do you think I really enjoy this? So the reality of it is that we've never seen an offer, and if someone had one, we would certainly entertain it. We're in the business at the end of the day to sell land anyway. My job is always to sell land. So that's the best answer I can give.
It's a great answer. So how much property do you or the company own in general, just in Arizona, or is it all over the nation?
No, the asset is in Arizona. This is the 15,000 acres. The company does not own land anywhere else. Stuart Swanson, the principal, is a pharmaceutical entrepreneur who is an American citizen and lives in London. And the background there is that his family had a place here. His father is a former, who is now deceased, is a former CEO of Del Webb Corporation in Phoenix. And so the Arizona tie to real estate really runs through the Swanson family and Stuart's father's legacy. In fact, Stuart's father, Bob, was the first one who put the ranch in escrow. At the end of the day, and I wasn't part of it. A fellow named Dave Cabin actually bought it, but the tie to the land runs through the Swanson family.
Wow, so there actually is a connection with the word, the name Dell's, with the Dell computer. My brother was online, and I showed him the picture of the tagging on the wall that says "Save the Dells." He goes, "Wait, you guys trying to save the computer?" I was like, he's always a jokester.
That always works.
He's always a jokester. So, but there is ties, yeah. I mean, is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely.
Oh, did you guys hear that? You heard it here first.
There we go. We knew we were getting news today, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get some sort of crazy news, and I think that's gonna be the best one for the day. I'm like, we were actually kind of connected with the Dell computer. Some of the things that obviously I've been reading online, and I try not to get too political. I've told Glenn this, I don't like getting into politics, and obviously I like talking about it. I like listening to it, and in a good conversation. But then I stop the conversation probably like in 5 minutes, because I'm like Mr. Squirrel, and start talking about other things. But this is a great thing. There's going to be development in Prescott. There's going to be development in all of our country. But some of the best things and the qualities of Prescott has to do with the environment. The environment is something that I hold dearly, because ultimately we have the best air quality. We have all 4 seasons, and it's just beautiful. And a lot of people do retire here for a reason, and some of it is because of medical reasons. Asthma. What is that stuff that hurts your bones?
Arthritis.
And people come into here for those reasons, and so this is something that I hold dearly to myself. I would never move from this location based off of that. Like, I could walk out and actually enjoy oxygen. People actually come to Prescott, Arizona. They're like, for some reason, I'm so happy, and I'm like, probably because
you can breathe.
Because you're breathing oxygen, and they're just like, what do you mean? I was like, well, think about it. In your city, your place that you're living is polluted. I mean, pollution is huge. So when you come here to Prescott, Arizona, there's an environment that we have to protect. So this is one of my biggest concerns, is to keep that quality. To keep that quality of life, and having more people and having more cars and congestions and pollution in general. I mean, it all is going to take a huge workforce. Basically, the people that are building these cars need to go ahead and start working on the emissions, which we're going, basically to hybrids. And then obviously the usage of water and how we recycle it, the cost of energy. I don't want to say APS in general, but all this stuff we need to be more sustainable on utilizing what our Earth has given us. So this is a big topic that holds dearly to a lot.
Well, I think it all ties in. When you talk about the development as well as the infrastructure and everything that goes along with it. And that's for another conversation with another person. I mean, we're glad that you came in and talked to us about, your project, and hopefully we cleared up a lot of the questions out there, and we've given an opportunity for people to ask questions. Do we have any more, San Martin? Because
You know,
we're going,
you know,
we're going
yeah.
a little over time here with Jason.
You know, in all reality, a heated, not a heated topic, but it is a very heated topic in our local area, and I think an hour is definitely good enough. But
Yeah.
at the same time, you know, there's more questions to go ahead and be involved in this, and I think that we landed a lot of them, and a lot of people did have their voices heard today, based off of some things. My only question is did you kick out the Prescott Valley mayor out of his seat? Just kidding.
You know, there was rumor control about that.
So-
Cal, I hope you're listening. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jason.
Jason, give it down.
You might want to drink a water before you do this.
It was a funny story, and actually Cal last night knew that I was getting ready to interview you, but it was a funny story, and he told me what was up, and I know that you didn't kick him out. It was just a miss.
Thank you.
He did not kick him out, guys.
Yeah.
It was a joke. It was a misunderstanding of what was happening, but it was a good one, you know, to go ahead and break up the ice here, man. Cal sends his regard. He said he likes you a lot, man.
When I'm in PB, I get
Yeah.
reminded of this moment, and it was uncomfortable.
It was a moment.
How's that?
It's kind of cool to go ahead and see how people connect, and sometimes it's a kind of an awkward scenario.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on here?
All right.
But yeah, this is a beautiful area, and I'm glad that you and your family are participants of
Thank you.
living here, and I know that I feel like your best interest is in the scenario,
Yeah.
and obviously. You know, you're living. You know, this is your land. This is something that you could actually do with whatever you want because that's American God-given right. And in my opinion, I don't own no land because I feel like I have to take care of all of it in general. So when I'm walking down the streets of Prescott, Arizona, I don't say it's the city official that needs to go pick up that trash. It's San Martin that picks up that trash because of us being a citizen of this earth, we have to do our part, and this is what we need to do. And I believe that's our life, and that's what our God-given rights are. So, you know, with that being said, I'll let you close it out, and then I'll go ahead and give the credits.
All right. Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jason,
Thank
for
you.
coming in, and thank you for sitting down talking with us. It ran a little bit long, but I think we had a lot of good information out there. And,
Yeah.
You know, we look forward to any other comments that you might want, to put on the page, and we'll certainly try to answer everything that comes across.
Yeah.
So again, San Martin, thank you so much.
Yes,
I
sir.
really appreciate you being at the table today.
Yeah. Sorry about this. That's right. All right, guys. You
Close it
know,
up.
we're here at Prescott E-News office, and obviously you can go ahead and hear this stuff every week. We get the podcast posted on Saturdays and Sundays. Get the newsletter going, and basically follow the page. This is where you go to hear all the news first. And Prescott Talks is going to be the most controversial talk show on the market today.
On Fridays.
Thank you, sir, for coming in. Thank you
Yeah.
for letting me put you on the spot a couple times.
Thanks, Jason.
All right, thank you, guys.